Welcome back, Truth Seeker. I just had to laugh about what's the breaking news this evening on February 7th, the 38th day of the year. Again, we just talked about this yesterday. But top court, that's the Supreme Court, to consider if Trump can run for president in Colorado. And again, today is the 38th day of the year. Colorado is the 38th state in order of statehood. And as I talked about yesterday, I was pointing out that the coming Tuesday, so next Tuesday, will be exactly 38 weeks before the election. So this news breaks tonight that the Supreme Court's going to start looking at this. They're going to start looking at it tomorrow. And the state of Colorado has asked them to make a decision sometime before March 5th. March 5th is a Tuesday. It's the day Colorado's supposed to vote in their primary. And March 5th is also 35 weeks before the election. But again, in case you're new here, Gematria, the Kabbalistic practice of coding numbers into words. There are four base ciphers, the alphabetic order forwards and backwards with numerology. Notice how Colorado's 83 like election with the alphabetic order, 38 like election with the alphabetic order and numerology. Again, here we are on the 38th day of the year. The news began with the tragic disappearance of Marines on their way to San Diego, which also equals 38. But when you run the alphabetic order in reverse, Colorado in election 133, and then in reverse numerology, Colorado in election 43. So it's a perfect match in all four base ciphers. 38's the big one. We call Colorado the 38th state. You have no idea how many times we've taken advantage of the number 38 in rig sports, from MLB to NHL to NBA. Think about how last year LeBron, a year ago today, LeBron became the first player to cross the 38,000 mark. Or, excuse me, he became the all-time points leader in the 38,000 range on the 38th day of the year. Lost in the Western Conference Finals to Colorado, the 38th state, who went on to win the championship. Anyway, now on the 38th day of the year, the news breaks that the Supreme Court will begin looking at the Colorado issue. And, this is what we're educating about day after day, that all of these things are rituals. Again, D.C. is the Masonic city. Masonry is based in Kabbalah. Kabbalah is where Gematria comes from. And keep in mind, D.C. is also the city on the 38th parallel. You want some other words that equal 38? Gematria equals 38. English equals 38. Kabbalah equals 38. Energy equals 38. Colorado, very central state to the nation. So, just to read a little bit of the reporting, the U.S. Supreme Court will wade into uncharted legal waters on Thursday as it considers if Donald Trump should be barred from running for president. The justices will weigh if Colorado can strike Mr. Trump off its ballot after finding he engaged in insurrection over the U.S. Capitol riot. Their decision will also determine if similar bids to keep Mr. Trump off the ballot in other states are valid. He is the definitive frontrunner to be the Republican Party's candidate. Unless the justices rule against Mr. Trump, he looks likely to challenge Democratic President Joe Biden in November. It is the most consequential such case to reach the court since it halted the Florida vote recount in 2000. Let's not forget that. So out of the 50 states, there's actually 5 that equal 38. It's actually the most common number for the gematria value of a state. There's 5 states that equal 38. Florida, let me see if I can remember them all off the top. Florida, Louisiana, Minnesota, Colorado, Oregon. Yep, those are the 5. So it's funny that it also came down to Florida for an election. And you might recall Jeb Bush was the 43rd governor of Florida. Hold on, 43? Wasn't that in the election as well? Jeb Bush was the 43rd governor of Florida. George W. Bush became the 43rd president. Their father was the 43rd vice president. Of course, the 2 Bushes that were presidents went to Yale, which equals 43. Colorado's actually a lot like Florida. They both equal 38 forwards and 43 in reverse. But anyway, they got to reference Florida here. The recount in 2000 handing the White House to Republican George W. Bush over Democrat Al Gore. The challenge has been expedited by the U.S. Supreme Court, and there is pressure for a decision before the 5th of March when voters in 15 states, including Colorado, cast their ballots in Republican primaries. Mr. Trump's name so far remains on the Colorado ballot, pending the court's ruling. Maine also has excluded Mr. Trump from its ballot, a decision on hold too, while the justices consider the matter. The legal challenges hinge on a Civil War-era constitutional amendment that bans anyone who is engaged in insurrection or rebellion from holding federal office. And let's not forget how synced the January 6th insurrection was. Remember, 6/1, like the Civil War began in 1861. But it was all synced with the Albert Pike statue coming down June 19th, 2021, after the George Floyd riots, and the George Floyd killing was on Memorial Day, which came out of the Civil War. Again, the point is, all of this stuff has been perfect ritual. And let's not forget, George Floyd was killed in one of those 38 states, Minnesota, on the corner of 38th Street. But anyhow, again, energy is a big 38 word, and that's what they're always trying to manipulate, people's energy. So also in election news on this day, Marianne Williamson has dropped out of the election. And again, she's the author. So on the 38th day of the year, she's out. And what jumps out about her dropping out, she was challenging Joe Biden. She's dropped out 152 days before her birthday. Joe Biden equals 152. Recall the first President's Day after number 46, Joe Biden took office, just happened to fall on the 46th day of that year, February 15th or 15/2. So she's out 152 days before her birthday. It's synced with her 72nd birthday, and you could say today is 7/2. Of course, in Gematria, President Biden and President Trump equals 72, like Jesuit order. And her 7/8 birthday is also interesting because we know Trump's turning 78. 78 cards in the tarot deck. The top cards are the Trump cards. Jesse Waters just had the tarot card reader on the other week to foretell that Trump will win the election, becoming a lot like Grover Cleveland, the nation's second split-term president, when Cleveland equals 78, and Trump had his 2016 convention in the city of Cleveland. All right, and some people asked if I could look into the fires in Chile. So they began February 2nd, the 33rd day of the year. Things always get curious with the 33s. But the thing that jumped out to me, well, there's a number of things that jump out. But these fires, these historic fires, they began on the 83rd day of the Jesuit Superior General's birthday. And when it comes to fire, you always got to look at the Jesuits because their founder, Ignatius of Loyola, said, "Go forth and set the world on fire." And we've seen a lot of spectacular Jesuit fire rituals, including what happened to Maui last August. But the Valparaiso region is where the fire is. And in Gematria, that equals 83, which is a number of death and destruction. But the fire began on the 83rd day of the Superior General's age. And it also comes right before the president turns 38. Hey, there's that 38 again. The word fire itself equals 38, like death, like murder, like killing, like RIP, again, like what happened to the Marines on the 38th day of the year on the way to San Diego. Or actually, technically, I guess the Marines disappeared yesterday, but it didn't break in the news until today, the 38th day of the year. So the fire began 9 days before the 11th, which is the president's 38th birthday. They got a young president down in Chile. They have to say at least 112 people are dead. Again, the Jesuits operate in 112 countries. 112 is the most common emergency dialing code in the world. There's probably more to this, but yeah, I saw the Superior General connection and right away said, go figure. And also, other tragic news in Chile. The former president died. We covered this in the earlier stream. Again, he's dead at age 74. Killing equals 74. Again, 3 of the first 5 presidents in this nation died on 7/4. The Ides of March, remember the killing of Caesar on the 74th day of the year. But his helicopter crashed, and then they said he drowned after it crashed, and drown equals 74. This happens at 74. Again, he died 67 days from his birthday blood sacrifice and human sacrifice equals 67. And he died 99 weeks after exiting office as president. His name's Sebastian Piñera, 99. And I had never heard the term Crossfire Hurricane. Somebody was blown away. I was talking to a stranger today about Gematria, and then they asked me, they're like, what about Crossfire Hurricane? And I was like, what? They're like, what? You don't know what Crossfire Hurricane is? I was like, I don't. They were blown away because I was like blowing their mind with things that they'd never heard of, and then they thought for sure I would know what Crossfire Hurricane was. So if you guys are out there and knew what Crossfire Hurricane was, good for you. Somehow this slipped past my radar. But I just want, it's about Trump. It was, Crossfire Hurricane was the code name for the counterintelligence investigation undertaken by the Federal Bureau of Investigation from July 31st, 2016 to May 17th, 2017, into links between Donald Trump's presidential campaign and Russia. So July 31st, 2016, July 31st is always special to the Jesuits. It's the day in history that Ignatius of Loyola died. It's why the first ever Jesuit Ignatian year ended on that day. And May 17th, if you've forgotten what's important about that day, we'll also get to it. But let's just look at how perfectly synced this was with the 2016 election. So Crossfire Hurricane, here, let me just punch it in the calculator so you can see it with your own eyes. Because we're going to hit all the values here of Crossfire Hurricane. So, Crossfire Hurricane, again, the cipher that's the most important traditionally is the alphabetic order with numerology, where Crossfire Hurricane equals 101. This investigation began a span of 101 days from the election. You could also say the election was November 8th that year. You could also say it began 101 days before November 9th, and that's the day Donald Trump was called president-elect. And remember, Donald Trump was called president-elect on the anniversary of the fall of the Berlin Wall, which equals 45, like he became the 45th president-elect. But in reverse with numerology, Crossfire Hurricane's 115. It reminds us that Donald Trump had a whole bunch of 115 rituals as he took office with the 115th Congress, and then he hired the 58-year-old Steve Ray, the Nationals announcer, to swear him in after the 58th election after he announced he was running from the 58-story Trump Tower. But then the Nationals won the 115th World Series, perfectly synced with Trump. The 277, look at this. So the date that it ended was a date with 59 numerology. And, of course, Freemasonry has that Gematria 59. Mason has that Gematria 17. Modern Freemasonry since 1717. This nation created 59 years later. But Crossfire Hurricane also equates to 277, which is the 59th prime number. So the prime number relationship with the Gematria corresponds with the end date of the FBI investigation. And as for the day it ended, it was the 137th day of the year. Of course, Washington, D.C. equals 137, like government, like White House, like authority. 137 is the 33rd prime, like federal equals 33, like secrecy, like order, like masonry. Again, like the House of the Temple with the 33 columns on the outside that are each 33 feet tall. And again, the address of the House of the Temple, 1733. The day it began was the day leaving 153 days left in the year. Like Jesuit order equals 153 in the Illuminati. And again, that's the day in history the founder of the Jesuits died, and the founder of the Illuminati was a Jesuit. That should say the Illuminati. The Illuminati is what equals 153. And, with regards to what is 47, Trump had about a gazillion 47 rituals. The day the investigation began was 47 days after Trump's June 14th birthday. Trump, president, White House, government authority, Republican, Whig, Democrat, D.C., all 47. Fast forward to Trump in 2020, saying he's done more in 47 months than Biden's done in 47 years. Biden, the 47th vice president who took office with 47-year-old Obama. And as for when it ended 337 days after Trump's birthday, which is the 68th prime number. Trump has another tower that's also 68 stories tall. Donald John Trump equals 68, like mathematics, like Catholicism, like CIA. Some people call the CIA the Catholics in action. And again, it's a fitting nickname, especially when you realize the CIA was started on the Pope's 201st day of his age. And Central Intelligence Agency, United States of America. Again, the words in the logo equate to 201, just like their motto. The work of a nation, the center of intelligence, equates to 201. So yeah, again, this you could look at this like Trump had all these scandals and things going on when he was running. It's the same type of thing now, and now the problem with the courts and being taken off the ballots, just all of this contrived controversy, and all this really contributes to is just the political divide. That's what they want. The united we stand, divided we fall. And boy, is this ever, we are a falling nation. And Donald Trump, just a polarizing figure. An egomaniac running on MAGA, the highest degree of the Satanic Church. I love how people don't know that, but look it up. Yes, MAGA is the highest degree of the Church of Satan. The first tenet of Satanism is to worship yourself. The Jesuit ties with the Church of Satan. It's also in your face once you know what to look for. So, anyhow, we'll keep this one short and sweet. And, thank you again to everyone who hits the like and the share. Until next time, Truth Seeker.